Now, so I'd really like to welcome Fiona Lawler and Aisling Moyles from USIT and Brunac. You probably have heard of USIT, a lot of you. I know it's been around for years, but basically for anybody who doesn't know USIT, it's Ireland's leading specialist in student travel, work abroad, internships and traineeship programs to the USA, Canada, Australia and New Zealand. We have Fiona Lawler here, who is the work visa coordinator for the USA, and also Aisling Moyles, who is sales executive. And I would really recommend, this is an opportunity in your life to travel and to have that while you're studying, to travel and learn. And for somebody who has done an awful lot of traveling, I can't recommend enough how much travel is beneficial for education, and you don't even know that you're being educated when you travel as well. And so to be able to tie, your college course and program, and a lot of you have work placement built into your programs, isn't it great to be able to travel to another country to do that work placement, whether it is USA, Canada, Australia and New Zealand. And we have had a lot of students in the past go to those countries. And now that everywhere is open again, we'd love to see our students travel all over the world and represent DkIT. So without further ado, I'll pass you over to Fiona. Thank you, Fiona.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for that introduction, Joyce. So I look after all the US programs here at USIT Travel. So I'm just going to share my screen. I hope that you can see it okay. Just let me know.
Yeah, that looks fine.
Yeah, you can see.
Great.
Perfect. So I'm going to start off by talking about just the graduate visa program, and then what I'll do is I'll touch on the internship program and also just a little bit about some of the summer programs that we offer as well for the US. So as Joyce was saying, this is all about bridging the gap from college to career. It's about gaining international experience in your field of study. It really enhances your CV, and it's just such a great opportunity to get that experience abroad and go and travel while you have the chance as well. So with the US programs, so the graduate visa, it is a J category. I suppose our summer work and travel one, so the J1 summer work and travel would be the most popular J1. There is actually 14 different categories of J1 visa. So this is a subcategory of the J1 internship visa. So the graduate visa is it's designed for you to go over to the US, get practical experience in your field of study and bring that experience then back here to Ireland to further your career. So you're automatically granted a 12-month internship visa. So you can intern in the US up to 1 year, so for 12 months, but you can travel over 30 days before that 12 months kicks in, and you can stay for 30 days afterwards. And them 30 days grace either side are all about, traveling and exploring and doing road trips and getting yourself settled in. So it's a really good opportunity to, incorporate some of them cultural activities that you'd like to do, as well as getting the practical work experience in your field. So with the graduate visa, you can go anywhere you want in the US. You're not limited to, certain states or anything like that. So it's a really good opportunity to explore different areas or maybe outside of some of the main cities. You get a true insight into the American way of life. So because it is a cultural exchange, we do want to make sure that students are, you're getting integrated into the American workforce basically, and you're working with American colleagues, and you're getting a well-rounded kind of feel for what it's like to work over in the US. Bridging the gap from college to career. So that's such a massive part of these programs. A lot of students come out of college and you might not know what direction to kind of take your career. And the graduate visa is the perfect opportunity to kind of explore different areas of your degree while getting that international experience. And then, of course, making your resume shine. So having international experience is always a bonus on your resume as well. So just to update you on the US situation, so it is open. It opened on November 8 for all persons who are fully vaccinated. You are required to have a negative PCR test before you go. Now that could possibly change in future, and we would update you if there is any changes along the way once you're on the program. But at the moment, they are the requirements for entering the US, and that's not just on the non-immigrant visas, that's across the US as a whole. And there is embassy delays. Now we have noticed in the recent weeks like the embassy delays are getting shorter, so they are catching up on the backlog, and thankfully so far all of our applicants have got appointments and have got out on time, so that's definitely a bonus. So just in terms of your eligibility for the graduate visa, you do have to hold an Irish passport and be studying in an Irish college, so within the island of Ireland. You have to enter the USA within 364 days of the date stated on your graduation cert. So if you're a final year student now, I'd imagine you guys are likely going to be graduating probably October, November time maybe. So you would have 12 months from the date on your graduation cert to enter the US and activate this visa. And you can head out anytime after you get your final year exam results. So you can apply now, get through the process, but you just have to wait until you have your results from your final year to say that you have secured your degree, and you bring them to the embassy with you then. So you can head off anytime after that. So at the moment, the course eligibility is that you have to be in a level 6 or higher degree. So must be running at least 2 years for the level 6, and over 50% of coursework has to be academic in nature as well. If you're not too sure if you're doing a level 6, if you're not too sure if the course meets the requirements, just let me know and I'll be happy to confirm for you. Level 7, level 8, level 9 are all perfect on the program. So your intention on these programs has to be to come back to Ireland, so to further your career and use that experience that you get over in the US, to excel back here. You shouldn't be applying for this visa if your intention is to stay on indefinitely in the US, so it can't be a stepping stone to staying over there indefinitely. In terms of the positions that you can do on the program, so you do have to work in your field of study. It is an internship position that you have to secure. So that is any position that shows that you're learning and training and gaining new skills in your fields of study while you're under supervision from your manager or your supervisor when you're over there. You can't be seen to be filling a labour need or displaced an American worker. So you can't take seasonal casual positions or be taking a job away from an American worker in that regard. And there is some restrictions in some fields such as sports and nutrition, education, healthcare, hospitality, social care and agriculture. So I know that we have an agricultural class online at the moment, so I will go through them in a little bit more detail maybe at the end, because it does apply to both the graduate and the internship programme. It's the same restrictions.
Great, that would be great. Thank you, Fiona.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. I'll give you kind of examples of what you can and can't do. So just so that you guys know when you're reaching out to employers what to look for in that position.
Brilliant.
So just in terms of finding an internship, on the graduate visa, we don't source your internship for you. So it is up to you guys to source that internship. And the reason that we don't source it is because we don't want to influence your career. This is a great opportunity for you to take whatever direction you want. There might be, two students in the same course, but have totally different directions that they want to take their career in. So we want to encourage people, to search for what they want to do. But we do offer loads of advice along the way. So some tips that I do have for finding an internship is, change your LinkedIn profile. So make sure you have your LinkedIn profile up to date. Change it to the location that you're thinking of going to. So if you're going to New York, in the background, go into your settings, change your setting to New York, and that's just going to expose you to a lot more companies and them to you. Contact us for one-to-one tips. So what we can do if you're looking at going over is we can take a look at our database and see where past applicants have interned before, just to give you some ideas on the type of positions that they've done and the companies that they've worked with. Now, we don't have any direct affiliation with the companies. It would be up to yourself then to reach out to the companies if you were interested in doing something similar to past students. But we can definitely give you all that information. There's a lot of online resources as well. So internships.com, looksharp.com and GraduateLand are a couple that we would recommend, along with indeed.com is really good as well. And you can filter by internships and traineeship positions as well. And then networking in the US. It is all about networking. So any connections that you have, talk to your lecturers in college, talk to, your career guidance, see if any other students have gone over, and just start up that conversation and, that you're thinking of going over and seeing what connections you can get from that. So just to give you an idea of some areas or some positions that are popular in certain cities. So like New York would be really good for anything stock exchange, fashion, publishing, manufacturing. New York is really good for anything business related as well. So, marketing, management, that type of thing. Chicago would be really popular for science, engineering, banking and finance. And then in San Francisco, software is definitely one of the top degrees that we've seen going over to San Francisco, along with finance, biomedical and business. And then Boston is really good for anything biotechnology, healthcare, banking and finance. So they have a lot of massive finance companies in Boston. So if any of them apply to you guys, just let me know and I'd be happy to help kind of point you in the right direction of, you know, what areas are good for your degree. So just to give you an idea of some of our previous employers on the graduate program, so State Street, Environment New York, Universal, then we've got Shutterstock, JT Morgan Chase, Gentech, and there's a lot of construction companies like you've got JT Megan, Turner and Co would take on for construction most years. So if you are unsure of where to kind of start looking, I would recommend just dropping us an email and we'd be happy to kind of point you in the right direction with all of our knowledge that we have over the last couple of years. So internships can be paid or unpaid. It's totally between yourself and your company, you know, your way to agree your wage, but these are some of our highest paid internships that we've had on the program. Bear in mind that these are students that are just out of college. And like Joyce was saying, like what we see is a lot of students who have the internship integrated as part of their degree tend to get the higher paid internships as well because they have that little bit of experience behind them. So that's really positive that a lot of your courses do offer you the opportunity to get some experience before you're fully qualified. So to book your application for the graduate visa, you just book online via the website. What we would do is we do over the phone interview with you. Nothing that you need to be prepared for, just a few short questions that we have to go through as part of the program, and we'd answer any questions that you have on the program as well. We would set you up in our sponsor system. So our sponsor on this program is CIEE. So if you're reaching out to employers and they're asking you, do you need sponsorship? Your answer will be no. You'd already have your sponsor over in the US. So we would set you up in their system that would give you access to your online application. Once you've completed your online application and booked your insurance. So it's so important to have insurance for the programs over in the US. And it's something that we are very strict on. We do like to make sure that you know, check your insurance and make sure that it's the right cover and everything like that before you head over. So once you've completed your application and booked your insurance, we'll send everything off to the sponsor. So with the graduate visa, it goes through 7 business days of processing. And once it's processed, your work papers would be issued. And at that point, then I'd be able to give you all the information that you need to schedule your appointment at the US Embassy in Dublin. So once you have your embassy appointment, they'll hold on to your passport for a couple of days. And once that's returned, then you'd be ready to go. So just in terms of, I suppose, some regulations on the program. So bear in mind, it is a multiple entry visa. So if you need to come home or anything like that throughout your stay, you absolutely can. You just get your work papers stamped and signed by the sponsor and they issue you with a letter of good standing. You can also secure multiple internships on the graduate visa because you're given the 12-month internship visa from the start. If, say, you secure only like a 5-month internship, it doesn't mean that your visa ends and you have to come home after that 5 months. You have 30 days from when that first internship ends to secure a second one. So if you wanted to relocate during that time and maybe, you know, try somewhere else in the US, you absolutely can. So it's really flexible like that. And then you have the 90 days from the start to source that internship when you get over there. So just in terms of the cost then for the graduate visa, the total cost is $1,999 and you can apply with a deposit of $299 on our website. I've just popped in the email address there for the Work USA program. So if you do have any questions on Grad, you're more than welcome to reach out to that email address and we would be happy to help. And then just to jump into our internship program. So like I was saying, the graduate visa is a subcategory of the internship program. So the internship program, it's slightly different. It's a little bit more restricted in that you have to have the position lined up before you go. So this is designed for any students who are still enrolled in college at the moment. So if you have to do your work placement as part of your course, you would go on the internship visa. If you're enrolled in college and you'd like to do a summer internship over in the US, this is the program that you would go on. or you can go on it up to 12 months after you graduate as well. So if you happen to have the position sourced before you go over, you might decide to go on the internship visa rather than the graduate visa if you'd like the security of, you know, having everything approved and ready to go for when you land over there. So again, the position has to be directly related to what you study in college. So you know, if, as a rule of thumb, say if you've got 2 to 3 modules in any one area, you can go down that route. So say somebody with a business degree could look at going down marketing. They could do finance. They probably did accounting modules over the course of their degree. Or they could do maybe like a stint in HR. So it is quite flexible in that if you've got a couple of different modules, you can explore the different areas as well. You can train up to the 12 months on the internship visa. Now, the visa is tailored to the amount of time that the company is going to take you on for. So if you're only going to go for 6 months, you're going to be granted the 6-month visa. So when you apply for the internship visa, your company have to fill in your training plan for you before you go. So once you come to me with an application, I would set you up in our sponsor system. Again, the sponsor on the internship program is CIEE. So it's the same sponsor that we use for both programs. I would set you up in the sponsor system and that would give you access to a training plan. So this is how your position gets approved with the sponsor. So your company would fill this in for you and it's going to ask them to fill in questions such as, you know, what are your goals for this program or phase? What skills are you going to learn? How are they going to be taught? How are they going to be assessed? Who's going to oversee your internship? Is there any cultural activities involved? So it's very straightforward and as much detail as possible that the employer can put in there, the absolute better. We would then send that off to the sponsor for vetting and approval. So vetting takes a little bit longer on the internship visa. You're looking at about 15 business days to approval. And then once approved, your work papers again would be issued and we'd be able to send you all the details then that you need to schedule your appointment at the US Embassy in Dublin. So just in terms of the restrictions that apply across the internship and the graduate visa program. So I've just taken some notes on agriculture because I know that we have the agricultural class here. So just to give you an example of some things that you can do. So you can learn about like rotational grazing methods, irrigation management methods, sustainable farming practices, small organic farming methods, seed genetics and breeding, and small farm management practices. So they're all appropriate training within the agricultural sector. Some restrictions are that you can't be kind of doing manual hands-on work, so like mending fences, mowing, harvesting, or operating heavy machinery. So that's more for like insurance purposes. You wouldn't be able to do that, and you know, obviously we need to make sure that you're safe and stuff like that. So they don't permit operating heavy machinery on the program. 10% or less of your internship can be animal exercise training, grooming, feeding, and tacking up. That's under the supervision of your host company supervisor. So you can do a lot, but there is some restrictions. If you did want to kind of do the more hands-on manual labor side of things, it would be limited. So just bear that in mind. I did have a look, Joyce, at your website just before I came in to take a quick look at the courses that you offer. So I know that there's hospitality as well.
Absolutely.
So some of the restrictions within hospitality would be that, you know, students can't, they couldn't work kind of as front of house staff. So it would be more so learning the management side of things. So like learning the front of house management, learning the food and beverage management, maybe the banqueting management or events management, or they could incorporate, you know, some HR, some marketing and training in there as well. So it would be kind of all the skills that they would be learning would enable them to say come back and maybe step into a duty manager role here in Ireland. So it wouldn't just be the serving at functions or serving in, you know, the restaurant attached to the hotel or within housekeeping. It would be the management side of things. Other courses that I noticed is kind of education, healthcare and social care. So education will be limited in that they can't teach in the US. so they can't be responsible for teaching children directly. There is a separate visa if anybody did want to be a teacher after they've qualified. It's not something that we process here at USIT, but I can definitely point you in the right direction if anybody would be interested in that. So on this program, if they wanted to go over with an education degree, you'd be subject to more kind of curriculum development. You can do observation work, absolutely, that's fine. But they couldn't just be hands-on teaching. Then within the social care and the healthcare sector, students can't be responsible for any patient care. Again, that comes down to insurance over in the US, and you can't be responsible for any, say, vulnerable persons or be a caseworker over in the US, for example. So it would be, again, more the observational roles, or if they wanted to look at doing maybe the kind of management style training behind that. So, healthcare management and learning all about that, or again, with social care, it'd be the management side. So, learn about what kind of goes on in the background, and then doing that, like caseworker, you could do in an observational role with your supervisor present. Does that make sense? I hope.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And actually, I'm not sure if social care, they're going through an accreditation process, and I'm not sure if social care students can actually gain their accredited hours over in the US anyway. So
yes, there is restrictions in that regard as well. So but if there is anybody that's in social care or any of those other restricted areas and you're thinking of going over and you need some more information, just reach out to me. I'd be happy to help any way that I can. And then just to mention some of our summer US programs as well. So I know a lot of people have missed out on the opportunities to go over to the US over the last couple of years, with obviously everything being closed because of the pandemic. So, the summer J1 work and travel is a really good opportunity to go over. It's seasonal casual positions that you go over. So if you just wanted a summer of fun, you could do that. So you can do that when you're in. It doesn't matter which year you're in. So you can do it during the summer months, but you can also do it in your final year. So the summer of your final year. So if anybody wanted just to take some time out, you could do the summer J1, and then you can always come back and go over on the grad visa or go over on the internship visa as well. So it runs from May to September time, and we do run 2 program options for that. So with the summer J1, because it is seasonal casual positions, we do offer an option to book on, and we would secure the position for you. So that would be like working in a restaurant, working in a bar, and we'd have a lot of positions in like New York and some of the major cities. Now, if you're looking at going somewhere outside of the major cities, we may not have that position available. But we could give you more information if you're interested in that one, depending on where you want to go, or you have the option to source your own job over there as well. And then one of our other summer visas that we offer is the camp counselor visa as well. So this allows anybody to go over, and basically what you're doing is you're working in the summer camps with kids. So you'd really have to enjoy working with kids and must be adventurous. If you like the outdoors, like that visa would be perfect for you. You do get your accommodation and your food included, so you're actually staying in the camp. Now you do get some time off as well, but for the most part you would be like in the camp with the kids, and your food and all your meals will be included. So that program is €399. So just to mention, with all of our US programs, we don't offer flights, so it is up to yourself to source your own flights. We do kind of recommend, if possible, holding off on booking your flights just until you have your passport in your hand. But if you did want to go ahead and book it, just make sure that it is a changeable flight so that you do have free changes in case there's, any more restrictions down the line. Please God, there's not, but just in case there is, make sure that if you are booking flights that they are changeable. And then we also don't recommend putting down a deposit on accommodation before you head over. So always just make sure to wait and see the accommodation before you put down any money towards it. So that's just some of our summer programs. Again, you can do the camp counselor, and then you could come back and you could go back over on grad or internship as well. So there's lots of opportunities to gain experience over there and have some fun as well. So thank you so much for listening in, and I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Fiona. And it's just great that you are a one-stop shop to do all the paperwork and everything. And you know, and I thank you. It's very clear that you have all the prices up there. I do have a couple of questions. I'm sure a few more will come in. You did mention insurance.
Yeah.
What type of insurance would you recommend? Is that travel insurance, or what is it? And where would you recommend getting it from?
So it is travel insurance, but it's also emergency medical insurance. So they have to be
Okay.
covered. Anybody going to the US has to be covered for the likes of repatriation, and there is certain level of covers that it has to meet. So the ones that have been approved for the grad and the internship program, you've got backpacker travel insurance, blue insurance, and getcover.ie. And it has to be the backpacker level policy with all of them. So that's so important. If you go with a multiple entry, you'll have to leave the US and come back in every 60 days. So it's not really feasible. And there's a couple of other restrictions around the, you know, just the one trip policy and stuff like that. So the backpacker level policy. But we will provide all that information.
Okay,
as
great.
well when people book on.
And I have a question just regarding the training plan as well. So you kind of have a template for it, which is great. But I do know a couple of years ago, and maybe it was the head of coronavirus and whatnot, but some of the visas were rejected based on the training plan. Why would that have been?
So from my knowledge, that would have been hospitality. So it was in particular, it seemed to be with the culinary arts students.
Okay.
So there's a fine line with hospitality between filling a labour need and actually learning in your field of study. So that's why the content on your training plan is so important. And anybody in hospitality I would work closely with to make sure that, you know, it is at a certain level. So if that hospitality training plan, which did happen for the culinary arts students, if that comes back and it's a lot of, you know, just food prep, what the embassy were saying was that's kind of casual work, you know, that an American could be in doing that job, and that's possibly taking a job away from an American worker. Whereas our argument was like, that's absolutely a part of culinary arts, you know, you have to do
Absolutely.
that.
Yes. Yeah.
But the embassy
Okay.
felt like that was more a casual position. So
Okay.
like that, any training plans that come in for hospitality, I would work closely with them to make sure that they are meeting the requirements, that there's no, like, if you're doing a stint in food and bev, that it's management focused rather than, you know, you're not going to actually be serving at a table or
Yeah, totally
just like that.
understand.
Yeah.
And I am conscious that we have agricultural students here, which is great. But I just wanted to, I'll be with you, sorry, in a moment. And a lot of them are focusing on sustainable agriculture, and that is one of the areas that you said that is open to agricultural students, which is really fantastic. Sorry, Janet. Yes, you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to come in on the back of that one, Joyce, the hospitality sector. Fiona, I work directly with those students on campus here.
Brilliant.
And like it was a big surprise. We had several students had made the payment for the visa applications and everything, but they were wider than culinary. They were actually food and beverage and front of house, and you know, one got the visa. It was very inconsistent. It was a very, very unusual situation that happened, because there's been a wonderful record of a lot of hospitalities going to America for the internship, for their work placement, and this totally spun us out. Like, we couldn't really understand what was going on, and we feel it was political, of, you know, or something, Trump perhaps.
I know, we were just as surprised as you, Janet, because we did have such a good track record and there was no denials. Hospitality students, and I do know that there was yourselves, there was some students from TUD, and some of them were going over to the same employer over in the US, and that employer has taken on interns every year. Every year on the program. So yeah, it was just as much as a surprise to us as it was to you guys, and it was something that we tried so hard to work with the embassy, but unfortunately there was no budging with them.
And how do you feel about it this year? Like, do you feel the appetite has changed, or there's a more openness to it? Because we have no students now will, you know, come forward this time around.
So I have had a couple of interns go over in hospitality already this year, and they have all been approved. So we haven't noticed anything coming up. I am working really hard with them to make sure that the training plans are, you know, really, really airtight, that they can't be questioned on anything in relation to doing like a casual part of it. So they have got through so far this year. But like I said, it is, every US visa unfortunately is at the discretion of the US consular officer on the day of the interview. we can't predict what they're going to ask. And what was happening is one officer was letting them through, one officer wasn't.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
okay, well, look, thanks for that, Fiona, and thanks for the, the honesty and the upfrontness on it. And we'll certainly keep trying to encourage it because it's a wonderful life experience,
Yeah,
to go to America. Yeah,
absolutely.
And like we would be completely upfront of it with anybody applying for the program within them fields. Like, it is a high risk, and we do need to put a little bit more work into your training plan. And if we do feel like there's edits that needed, we're trying to get them done before they even go to the embassy. And then just to answer your question as well, Jan, on kind of is it political, there is a change of embassy staff as well.
okay.
So they do rotate every couple of years. So I do know that Dublin has changed. Belfast, I'm actually not too sure at the moment, but it does seem to be, they are very, they are, I suppose, promoting the program. They do understand the cultural exchange side of it. So that's really positive as well with Dublin. We haven't had any denials at all this year.
Right, great. Thanks, Fiona. We'll get them moving hopefully next year again.
Exactly. And I just have another question. So you mentioned you've got the J1, you've got the internship and the graduate program, and it's fantastic that there's so many opportunities. If you've used J1, you can use another.
Yeah.
Can you only take out one J1? I don't know. Okay, I have no idea. So I'm just interested to know.
Multiple. So like you could have a student who maybe is in first year, they might go over for summer first year on summer J1, summer second year they might decide to try camp counselor visa. Summer third year they might go over on internship, or they might do their internship as part of their degree over there and then finish up and go over on graduate visa.
Fantastic. And that's great.
So many opportunities.
Yes, and for any first years, when we share this video, what I would say is even when I'm looking at student CVs and sending out to host sites, when I've seen them do a J1 and they've done the camp counselor, they've got so much more experience already, just for the fact of traveling and doing that. So that's great. Anthony, you have a question there.
Thanks, Joyce, and thanks, Fiona, for a brilliant presentation. Quick one around proof of funds. So what do I need to have in my account, and where does that need to, how do you demonstrate that, or how do you prove that? And are there any sort of tips and tricks you might offer to students around that?
So proof of funds, you do have to have the equivalent to $3,000, and that's on a bank statement. So it works out about €2,500 or around that mark. So that can be in a bank statement that you bring to the embassy, or you can get a letter off a parent or a guardian, so a letter of guarantor, and we can give the template for that as well. And that's just to show that you're going to be supported for that amount if you need it. And basically that's to make sure that students have the funds to to get set up, get their accommodation when they get over there, and just support them for the first week or so, or if they're doing the 30 days traveling beforehand, just to make sure that they have that funds to support themselves before they start their work placement.
That would be a really good week.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. No, that answers that. And is that across all the different options that you're offering, across, it's the same depending, regardless of what route you're going, I suppose?
To my knowledge, camp counselor and summer J1 are a little bit less.
Okay.
So I think it's only the 1,500, but I can confirm that for you and let you know.
Perfect.
But the intern and the grads tend to be that little bit higher because a lot of the time they are going to be over there for a lot longer than just the summer months.
Perfect. That's great. Thanks, Fiona.
And Joe, I think we have a question from the class.
Yeah, thanks, Joyce, and thanks, Fiona, for the presentation and for the specifics about agriculture. It's really helpful. It's so helpful, actually, that we don't have any particular questions from the class themselves. So everything is covered. But I suppose there's a few things that I would have got before from students previously. So if I could just ask them. From our side, I suppose, it seems that we should have, maybe the first step for us is to find that employer before we get in touch with yourselves, and maybe some people that we would have dealt with before in America, and then come to yourselves. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you'd first source the internship, and then you'd come to me and I would organise then the internship programme for you. So I'd set you up then with the training plan where you can ask your employer to fill that in for you. If they're going on grad, they don't need the position lined up before they go. So for any final year students, it's really handy to have all those connections and stuff done and hit the ground running, but it's not necessary for them to have the position lined up before they go over. But for internship, first step is to sort the position.
And then just seconding that rejection that you mentioned, I know we were talking about hospitality, and there was a few things in agriculture you mentioned, so it is a possibility as well. that notice of rejection, like, would that come kind of closer to the time you'd be traveling maybe, and you should have contingency lined up, or is it something you find out early enough?
So you only find out when you go to the US Embassy to interview.
Okay.
Yeah. So the sponsor will vet and approve the training plan. If there's anything of concern in there, they would normally come back and, you know, ask for updates on it. So I would check it. It would be checked by our sponsor, and then you go to the US Embassy and they would have the final say. So what we would be making sure is during the process that your training plan is airtight, that there's no, that they can't say, oh, well, you're doing more than 10% in, say, animal exercise. So we would make sure that that training plan is meeting all the requirements.
That's lovely. And then just the last question I have is, you mentioned that there's all these different sectors you can go in, and in the degree that the guys do here, they do obviously a lot of farm related modules, but they also do business ones, they also do science ones. So there's different avenues they could go. And something I'm just conscious myself of, if you know, when you go to America, you have the sheet maybe that they give you on the plane. And one of those questions relates to, have you been working with animals, or have you been on a farm, and things like that. Is that something that you really should make sure you flag with the embassy, so you don't have any problems, I suppose, when you reach America? It might be something that you're not really too sure of, but thought I'd ask you here.
I've never been asked that question before, I'll be completely honest. So I'm actually not too sure, but we have had agricultural students go over before, and there hasn't been any issue with customs they're going through with that. I do know the question that you're talking about, but I actually just don't know the answer to it, but I can find out for you. Absolutely.
No,
so it's something that I can check with our sponsor to see, because our sponsor would have applicants from different countries around the world, so they might have a better knowledge of that. So I can definitely find that out for you.
That's okay. Thanks very much for
you. Thanks, Joe. And I know we focused on the US, and that is fantastic, and that was where most of our students go. But is it a similar process if you are going to, say, Canada or Australia or New Zealand?
So you wouldn't be going through the whole process of getting a training plan and stuff like that, or needing a sponsor. So the application process for the other programs will be slightly more straightforward. Okay. Now, in the past, we have had students that have used their Canadian visa to do their work placement. You only get one opportunity of a Canadian visa, and it's 2 years long. So we would absolutely be encouraging people, don't use your 2-year Canadian visa on your 5-month internship or your 6-month internship if you can, just in case you do want to go back over, you know, after college and do the full 2 years and get that full experience over there. Yeah. So New Zealand and Australia are only just opening back up now at the moment, and Canada is open as well. So I don't specialize in the process, so I'm not too sure of the ins and outs, but as far as I know, processing time, you're only looking at a couple of weeks. It's a little bit shorter. Okay. So if anybody is interested in that, just let me know and I'll pop you in contact with our specialists in that area.
Fabulous. Janice, do you have another question?
Yes, I do, Joyce, thanks. Fiona, I was just wondering, I have a student at the moment doing hospitality. He's an international student. So he's from Southeast Asia and he's studying in DkIT. He wants to go to New York on his work placement. So how does that work in terms of, does it work?
It does, yeah, absolutely. So you can hold an international passport and be studying, once you're registered and studying in an Irish college, it's absolutely fine for internship. And he has the opportunity to go on internship up to the 12 months afterwards. Unfortunately, he wouldn't qualify for the graduate visa. They do have to have the Irish passport. So that's a specific visa between the US and Ireland. So it's a reciprocal agreement that we have, and no other country has that program. But internship, absolutely, that's absolutely fine.
That's great to know. That's really fabulous, yeah, for our international students as well. Okay, well, that has been so informative, Fiona. I wish I was back studying again, going off, traveling the globe. Are there any other questions from anybody else? I mean, I know this is fabulous, and we will definitely be sharing this in our other classes. And I know that your email address is up there, so students can actually contact you directly. Isn't that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to help. And like I said, my colleague Aisling, she has done a lot of our programs. So Aisling has done the graduate visa herself within hospitality, actually. And she has done our Canadian visa as well. So if anybody wants to chat, you know, about, you know, is just looking for some advice and wants to get Aisling's experience as well, I'm sure she'd be happy to help in that regard too.
Great. Okay. Well, listen, thank you so much, Fiona, for taking the time out, and Aisling, and presenting us with all that information. As I said, I have recorded, I will share it in our classes, and thank you very much for that. And hopefully you'll be getting a lot of students coming your way in the next few weeks, okay?
Thank you so much, Joyce.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone. All right, take
Bye.
care. Happy traveling. Okay, bye.
Bye, guys.